Hello, my friends. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the autosomal DNA results, predicted phenotype traits, and even G25 results of a Tene culture individual from Germany right here in this region of Germany. This individual lived in the early Iron Age. Actually, I'm not sure in the time period. We're going to look at that a little bit later. So this person lived right here in the southwest of Germany, right by the border of Switzerland. Let's see, the sample name is MX265. The mitochondrial lineage is H1C. That doesn't tell me anything, but in case you know more about mitochondrial lineages, the lineage is H1C. The patrilineal lineage is R1A M458, but I think that descends from Z645, so that comes from the most common R1A lineage. That's the most typical R1A lineage for Europeans. And the time period is 7th century before the Common Era. So this is definitely the early Iron Age. I was correct when I said this is an early Iron Age sample. This is the Latine culture in Central Europe. So this looks like it's a Celtic individual. This looks like a Celtic individual from Germany. It's surprising to me that this Celtic individual is carrying a Slavic haplogroup. So this Celtic individual is actually carrying a Slavic haplogroup. That's definitely very interesting. I don't really have an explanation for that. Let's see what he scores with G25. So with the G25, this individual is actually closest to Slovenians and Croatians and Serbians and Austrians. So closest to various Balkan Slavs, actually. And for the Oracle, he's getting modeled as a mixture of Lithuanian plus Sardinian plus Italian plus Greek plus Spanish. Let's reduce that to three populations. Reduce the cluttering a little bit, and with reducing to three populations, he's getting modeled as a mixture of half Lithuanian and the rest is Italian and Sardinian. So basically a mixture of half Northeast European and the rest is Southern European. Now let's look at what he scores with my own ethnic calculator. Of course, this will be very different in a negative sense. So with the S&P count of 268, this is definitely not enough to make a good prediction, but nonetheless, with this S&P count, the predicted groups that he scores closest to is French, followed by that is medieval individual from Lithuania by Lulilai, followed by that is Finnish, followed by that is North Germanic, followed by that is Kievan Rus, followed by that is North Italian, then medieval individual from Ukraine, Izyaslav and Gvarevich, followed by that is French once again, followed by that is British and Spanish. And the closest mixtures is actually Germanic plus Bailulai from Lithuania, or Izyaslav and Gvarevich from Ukraine plus Bailulai from Lithuania, or French plus once again Bailulai from Lithuania, or British plus Bailulai once again from Lithuania, or North Italian plus once again Bailulai from Lithuania. So it looks like this Lithuanian substrate is present in every result. Definitely very interesting result. So is it okay? Is it an okay? This ethnicity oracle with my trait predictor, sometimes it's pretty accurate. Sometimes it can be quite spot on. Sometimes it's okay. You know what what can I say? It's not always accurate. Sometimes it's very inaccurate, but sometimes it can be pretty spot on. In this case, I guess it's quite accurate, quite close to reality. Let's see what he scores with Nashakot, what kind of appearance he has. And I already know what he has because I already looked at this file beforehand, but it's definitely an outlier sample in terms of his phenotype. This sample is not a typical Northern European, not a typical French or Celtic person at all, because he has brown eyes. He's got 72% likelihood of brown eyes. Very, very unusual. He definitely doesn't have blue eyes. Less than 1% likelihood of that. Definitely doesn't have blue eyes with an amber center or green eyes. Less than 1% likelihood of that combined. Doesn't have any kind of hair color lighter than dark brown. Even light brown hair, less than 1% likelihood of that. Most likely he's got black hair color. For skin color, he's most likely got light brown skin. Just imagine that, a European, a Celtic person with light brown skin. That is incredible. He most likely has olive or Mediterranean or light brown skin, but the fact that the largest group he scores is light brown skin is completely incredible. So this is a very dark, very outlier like individual, and he's got straight hair, straight or wavy or curly hair. So this is a very dark color person, And the reason he's scoring so dark for the skin tone, I can actually show you why. It's because he does not have any light color variance in this variation of SLC 45A2 or any light color variance in this variation of SLC 45A2. It's very, very atypical for Europeans to score like this. Very, very unusual. You will not really find any Europeans with this kind of a genotype. So this is just really, really uncommon. And he does not have blue eye haplotype 2 either. He somehow has heterozygous genotype in blue eye haplotype 3 and 4, but without BEH2, there is no way for him to have any kind of light color phenotype. So he's definitely very dark. And he actually has one light color variant in this variation of MC1R, which predisposes him to have ginger hair. And here you can see at the bottom, I added recently the snipper-free eye color classification chart. You can actually use these genotypes to classify yourself as snipper-free. There's a link here, but I'm not going to do that here because that takes way too much time, and we like to conserve time. Let's look at the phenotype oracle. Let's see what phenotypes he matches closest. So the closest phenotypes to him is this, followed by this, followed by this. All pretty typical phenotypes for Western Europe, except for maybe this one. And for the phenotype oracle, the closest mixture of phenotypes to him is a mixture of 50% nat plus 50% nat, followed by 50% nat plus 50% nat, followed by 50% nat plus 50% nis. All right, definitely very, very interesting. Okay. Let's see the biomarkers results. And for the biomarkers, it looks like he's got a below average level of vitamin D, a above average level of LDL cholesterol, definitely very unfortunate. Below average level of HDL, once again unfortunate. Below average level of glucose, okay. Slightly below average level of hemoglobin, alright, that's pretty good. Slightly below average blood pressure, definitely really good. Nothing relevant for iron, alright. So from that, we already know we're not going to find anything for hemochromatosis in the file. So it looks like slightly above average level of sex hormone binding globulin and slightly below average level of red blood cell count in blood. Okay. Let's see the polygenic risk scores right now. And it looks like nothing relevant was found for epilepsy. Looks like slightly above average score for asthma. Looks like slightly below average score for leukemia. Spot on average score for vitiligo, spot on average score for myopia, spot on average score for primary biliary cirrhosis, slightly below average score for stroke, slightly above average score for male pattern hair loss. So for male pattern hair loss, maybe this is something this individual has to watch out for. Nothing was found for atrial fibrillation, nothing was found for deep vein thrombosis. Below average score for bipolar type 1, which is kind of typical for Europeans. Below average score for schizophrenia, kind of typical for Europeans. Above average score for type 2 diabetes, pretty okay. Below average score for Alzheimer's, slightly below average score for multiple sclerosis. Nothing for breast cancer. Kind of a kind of a risky genotype for testicular cancer. We're gonna have to look at the testicular cancer risk panel and see what he scores for keto G risk variants. And no risk variance for celiac disease, and it looks like no risk variance for GSS, and no risk variance for Crohn's, and no risk variance for Raffenstein's, and no risk variance for Parkinson's. Really good so far. So what do we have to watch out for? Really nothing. There is nothing concerning in this file at all, except for maybe the male pattern hair loss score. Alright, so it looks like he's got less dopamine D2 receptor sites. Alright, so far pretty good. Looks like predisposition to slightly higher odds of autism. Looks like a predisposition to average levels of empathy. Looks like this individual does not carry the lactose persistence mutation. Looks like, is there anything else I can talk about here? Telomere panel. Looks like he's got reduction in the number of reduction in telomere length, which means reduced lifespan and older biological age, which is kind of unfortunate. He's got some risk alleles in the HLA gene for vitiligo, so I suspect he might have some for the HLA panel, he might have some risk variance for that. And shorter mid-face length, larger nose size, and no East Asian genotype in EDAR. Definitely really cool. Impaired muscle performance, likely endurance athlete rather than strength or power athlete. One fat gene variant in FTOs, RS9949609, higher odds of obesity and sleep apnea. No variants for increased pain sensitivity in SCN9A. Greatly reduced risk of heart failure due to beta blocker medications. Okay, that's definitely really cool. He's got some genotypes that reduce the odds of weight gain if taken Zyprexa, but also some genotypes that increase the odds of weight gain when taken Zyprexa. All right, for alcoholism panel, something I added literally yesterday, it looks like he's got some genotypes that reduce the odds of extreme alcoholism withdrawal symptoms. Definitely really good to see. The risk score for alcoholism overall is below average, so that's really good once again. For cancer's panel, he's got three times increased risk of testicular cancer risk for men. Since most of the risk variants for testicular cancer come together in KETOG as a package, like they're linked together in haplotypes, having one genotype that leads to a 3 times increased risk of testicular cancer is typically kind of bad, because it means you usually have a haplotype. You usually have a bunch of different genotypes that come together. So that's actually kind of bad. So testicular cancer is something this individual probably has to watch out for. 2 APOB risk variants for familial hypercholesteremia out of 4 total. Kind of unfortunate once again, so maybe lipids levels is a problem here. And for HLA gene panel, yeah, that's actually kind of unfortunate. So intermediate odds of autoimmune disease is the highest thing that this individual scores. So this individual actually has a slightly higher predisposition to autoimmune disease. Kind of unfortunate. Okay, for color blindness panel, no risk variants. For FTO gene panel, we already went over that. And for biotraits panel, 2 copies of the hunter-gatherer CLT-CL1 gene variant, reduced ability to process carbs and sugars. Okay. And for blood group panel, it looks like this individual most likely has type A blood type. But it's actually, I mean, it's about the same number for type O and type A. It's about the same percentage. So it's actually roughly equal for type O and type A. So it could be either type A or type O, to be honest. 53% for type A, 45 for type O. There is not enough data to more precisely determine type A or type O. Well, if it was a more higher quality file, we could tell more precisely. But unfortunately, from what we have in this file, we can only determine so much. Thanks for watching the video until the very end. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and consider buying my tool. Consider leaving a like and subscribing. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.